Let's go.
Every week, we drop the noise
Drop the stress.
and drop some knowledge.
Welcome to the Drop In, the college admissions podcast by Decision Drop. If you would like to learn more about our services or have Josh and I help your family through this process personally, please head over to decisiondrop.com and check us out. And do not forget to like and subscribe.
I'm Josh.
I'm Lisa. Let's go.
A little too close to the camera there, Lisa, but okay.
Listen, I'm just trying some things out, so mind your business.
I will. All right. Episode 8, someone keeps giving us the key to the studio, so we're going to keep using it. Lisa, this week we're talking about one part of the entire application that the student doesn't actually write.
Right. The letter of recommendation. I think this is such an important episode because this is really when, if you stop and think about it, students control almost everything else of the process and they can't control this.
Yeah, exactly. So they pick their classes, they write their essays, they build their activity lists, they decide what to submit and what to leave off applications. And the whole application is the student's own story, told hopefully in their own voice.
Hopefully. And then there's just one exception, right? So it's the recommendation letter. If you think about it, it's the only part of the file where someone else speaks for you and you are not even in the room when they do it.
Yeah, and admissions officers, they know that. They know it's the one part that the student didn't create or fully control, which is exactly why they value them so much.
Right. So I think today is a great day where we can break it down. So we're going to talk about what actually makes a recommendation letter strong and why it matters more than students think. And most importantly, what you can do to actually help someone say something about you that you are not going to write yourself.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it.
Okay.
All righty. So Lisa, before we start talking about how powerful a great recommendation letter can be, we need to add one very important caveat.
You're right. So we're at episode 8. You know what we're probably going to say? Our favorite thing?
Yep. It depends.
It depends. It always depends. Because recommendation requirements are all over the place. You have some colleges that require a counselor rec and 1 or 2 teacher recs. Then you have some colleges that require a counselor rec, but no teacher rec or maybe 1 teacher rec. And then you have some schools that just make everything optional. And then you have some schools that will accept a recommendation letter from someone outside of the school.
Yeah. And some colleges don't even accept any recommendation letters at all.
Right. It's not, should we send it? Because probably they won't pay much attention to it. Or I'm just going to send it just in case. No, the colleges, they don't want it. They will not read it. Your teacher could write a beautiful letter and it's still not becoming part of your admissions decision.
Exactly. And this is yet another reminder that you have to look at every college individually. So don't assume that because there's a recommender section in the Common App that every college on your list wants to have one.
Right. They do not. The Common App is the delivery system. The individual colleges still make their own rules. So even among all the colleges, if you go and you look them up, you read their websites, some of those colleges, they still could consider recommendations, but they really don't place them at the top of the admissions hierarchy.
Yeah. And even looking at some common data sets, only about 11 or 12% of colleges said that either the counselor or teacher recommendations had considerable importance in their process. About half of those gave them either moderate or considerable importance. So yes, recommendations matter at many schools, but the colleges themselves are telling us that grades and curriculum still sit much higher on their list.
Right. And so just a little side note, because I don't think you and I have actually really talked about common data sets or we've mentioned it yet in any of our episodes. The common data sets, just like the mission statement, they're your friends, y'all. Go and look them up. Some of them, if you just go to Google and type in, I don't know, let's just say, give me a school, Josh. Let's just say
The University of Washington.
University of Washington. Go Dubs. Okay, so University of Washington, comma, data set. Now, sometimes if you put that in Google, it might give you a year or two out, right? So maybe it's not the most recent year, but still, if it's in the past couple of years, look it up. It's going to be a nice chart. It's going to tell you everything that the college deems important. So that's our side note. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, in some later episodes, but the common data set is your friend. Okay, now we're back to what we were talking about. So when you look at the common data set, Josh is correct, right? So only about 11 or 12% of the colleges said that a counselor or a teacher rec was considerable importance. That doesn't mean that the letter is meaningless. It just means we need to understand what the actual job is.
Wait, exactly. So a recommendation letter is not dragging a completely unqualified application across the finish line. So that's not its job. But at a college that reads recommendations, especially when it's choosing among a whole lot of academically qualified students, a strong letter can add context, credibility, and it can also humanize the kid a little bit more.
You know what? What's really worked well in the past 2 weeks is that we've given some schools. So I think, again, we should keep up with that tradition. And how about we come up with some examples where these policies look different?
Okay? So let's take the University of California system. So they tell students not to submit recommendation letters with their applications. So a campus or a specific program might request a letter as part of a supplemental review, but unless you're asked to, you don't need to send them.
Right. So here in my home state of Florida, right? So you have UF, FSU, UCF, USF. Rec letters for those schools, they are not required and they will not be used in decision-making process at all. So Florida families, if you are listening right now, please hear this. Do not spend 3 weeks agonizing over what teacher you should have your student ask or what they should even say. They are not going to read it. Put that energy somewhere else where those schools will actually care to see it. So your grades, your curriculum, your activities, your essay, those are the things that they're actually going to look at and that's going to go into your application.
Yeah, and here in Texas, at a school like UT Austin, they handle recommendations a little differently. So UT Austin does allow students to submit up to 2 optional recommendation letters. But here's the important part. UT specifically encourages letters from people outside the student's high school.
Right. I don't think students are used to hearing that advice, Josh.
No, not at all. And at first, when they recently changed this policy, it did confuse a lot of families. So, students and parents heard a recommendation letter and they immediately assumed UT wanted the traditional junior year English teacher or math teacher letter. But UT is actually telling students that these letters may come from mentors or other people who know them well. It could be a coach, and it specifically encourages sources from outside the high school. The goal is to add information or context that is not already sitting somewhere else in that student's application.
Right. So you could ask a supervisor from your part-time job or someone who oversaw your internship or a mentor who has watched you build something over time. Someone from, let's say, a community organization where you have taken on a real responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. So someone who can show UT who you are in a setting that your transcript and school resume can't fully capture. And okay, so I want to be careful about how I say this. UT officially calls these letters optional. We don't have a secret window into the admissions committee, and I'm not going to pretend that there's some hidden formula that we can prove.
Because you know what? We do not do admissions conspiracy theories on this podcast. Nope.
No tinfoil hats here. But based on what we've observed during this last application cycle, I wouldn't treat these outside recommendation letters as random, meaningless, or optional. We saw how valuable they could be when they added genuine context about a student's work ethic, their maturity, initiative, responsibilities, and the impact they had outside the classroom.
Right. So this probably goes with a lot of things that we say, kind of like it depends. If you see the word optional, more times than not, just do what it's asking you to do. So pretend to take a pencil or a pen and mark out the word optional and really do it, really send it. So in this case, the optional word does not mean, oh my gosh, let me quickly upload a letter, any letter that I can find. That's not what this optional means.
Right. So this means submit one when the right person can tell UT something important that the rest of your application doesn't already show.
And that UT example, it really captures the larger point of what this entire segment should be. Because before you choose a recommender, you have to answer these 3 questions, right? Number 1, does the college accept the letter? Number 2, what kind of recommender does it want? And number 3, what new information should this person add to my application?
Exactly. So going back to that giant caveat that we talked about just a few minutes ago, so now that that's firmly in place, so let's talk about why a strong recommendation letter can carry real weight at the colleges that actually read them.
Right, because a recommendation letter, it gives an admissions officer a view of the student they cannot get from anywhere else in the file. Not the transcript, not the resume, not the activity list, and not even the essay.
Yeah, so every other part of the application is either a number, a record of what the student did, or the student's own words about themselves. So the recommendation is where a trusted adult who has actually watched the student up close can say, here's what it's really like to teach this particular student.
Or what is it like to challenge them, or to give the student feedback, or to watch them wrestle with something difficult, to see them grow over the course of the semester or even the year? That is something no GPA can tell an admissions officer.
Right. And here's what a strong letter doesn't do. It doesn't simply recap the transcript.
Right. Admissions already sees that you got an A. They do not need a 500-word sequel explaining that the student earned that A.
If the entire letter says the student earned excellent grades, they completed every assignment, they worked really hard, that's a wasted opportunity, in my opinion.
Yes, 100%. I mean, think about it. Lovely kiddo, very responsible, apparently owns a pencil, but do we really see anything else new about them? Do we really know them?
A strong letter shows who the student is as a learner, how they think, how they respond when something is difficult, whether they engage with ideas or simply complete the assignment and move on.
Or does that student, do they ask a question that changes the direction of the discussion? Do they reconsider their position when something challenges them? Do they keep working after that first strategy fell apart? Do they make people around them better? That's the good stuff.
And in my opinion, the letters that admissions officers remember are usually the ones that are grounded in those kinds of real specific examples and moments.
Right, and that's the part that a student really needs to hear, okay? The best letters are not built on vague compliments. They're not built on copy-paste. They are built on real moments. Maybe it's the student who respectfully challenged a teacher's interpretation of a text, or came in with evidence and actually made the teacher stop and reconsider what they were thinking. Maybe, I don't know, it's the student who completely bombed the first test, swallowed their pride, I know, bananas, and asked for help when they needed to change the way they had to study, and slowly fought their way back. That's the stuff teachers remember, and that is the stuff admissions officers will remember too.
Yeah, or the student who noticed that a classmate was lost during a lab and helped them catch up without taking over the assignment. Those are details that couldn't be written about just any good student. So a generic letter, it can belong to anybody. A great letter could only belong to you. And these moments often feel very small to the student.
Like super small. Did you stay after class when you were still thinking about a discussion? Or were you asking one more question? Helping somebody understand a concept? Refusing to give up when it was one absolutely brutal assignment? To the student, that was maybe just a Tuesday.
Right. But to an admissions reader, that Tuesday can reveal intellectual curiosity, resilience, generosity, humility, and an inside peek into that student's character.
Because it helps the admissions officer picture how that student will show up on their campus. Was that person successful in high school? Or how will this person be at a 9 a.m. seminar class in the morning when the discussion gets uncomfortable and the professor pushes back?
Right. So a great recommendation also adds something new to the student's application. So this kind of goes back to something that we've been saying in pretty much every episode. Every part of the application needs its own job. So the transcript shows academic performance, the activity section shows what the student did, the essays show the student's perspective in their own voice, and the recommendation shows what another trusted adult has actually observed about that student.
So 4 jobs, 4 different angles with the same person. right? And this is the same principle that we talked about in the supplemental essays back in episode 5. You know how I like a good circle back callback, Josh. Like the strongest applications do not repeat the same accomplishments in 5 different places.
Exactly. So if your essay, activities list, and recommendation all tell us the exact same story, so 2 out of those opportunities have been wasted.
Wasted. 1,000%. This recommendation should confirm and deepen the story, not a copy and paste. If the essay shows that the student is curious and reflective, the teacher's letter might show what that curiosity looked like in the actual classroom. And if the activity section shows leadership, I don't know, call me bananas, but the letter might reveal how that student supports other people when there is no title, no applause, or a line for it on their resume.
Yeah, and that consistency that you just talked about, Lisa, that builds credibility for the student. So the student controls the overall story, but the recommendation provides outside confirmation that the person on the page is the person who actually walks into the classroom every day.
And I think here, Josh, here's where students really start to panic, because that specific moment, that genuine relationship and that teacher who truly knows you, it cannot be manufactured in October of their senior year. And y'all, it is August, 3rd. It is August 3rd. And when, if we're going back to episode 1, when we say you are not behind, you aren't behind. And this is where we should already now start diving in on things that you need to get done. So it is not October, and it is not a manufactured application or a manufactured rec letter or anything else that's going to cause you even more stress because you waited till October 15th to apply.
Right. So yeah, a great recommendation letter is not something you suddenly secure in 12th grade. So it's something you've been building by showing up.
Yep. And when you think about it, please do not here build a relationship and decide that tomorrow you need to become that loudest kid in the class or camp out in your teacher's doorway every afternoon and launch a full-scale campaign called Please Remember Me when the recommendation season is here. This is not building a genuine relationship, y'all. That is performing for a future recommendation letter. And trust me, the teachers and the admission counselors, they both know the difference.
Yeah, what you described is a little creepy, and teachers will definitely notice immediately.
I mean, let's be honest. Teenagers are wonderful humans. Like, we would not be doing this job if we not think that. But subtle, I would say it's not always one of the things that teenagers are best at.
Yeah, not quite. So students building a relationship means being present. It means participating when you genuinely have something to contribute, asking for help when you need it, following up on an idea that honestly interests you.
And respond thoughtfully to feedback instead of, flipping straight to the grade and ignoring every comment your teacher has written about you. Let the teachers see how you learn, not just the final number, but the process, how you think, how you struggle, adjust, and then how you come back from anything.
Yeah. And the students who build the strongest relationships are usually the genuinely curious ones. So they ask another question because they actually want to understand, not because they're banking recommendation points for 2 years from now. Teachers, again, can tell the difference.
Right. Okay. All right, Josh. So we have covered what a recommendation letter should be and what it should sound like. I think now we should talk about who the student should actually ask.
Yeah, that's a very important question and point to discuss. So students should ask the teacher who they feel knows you. So not just the teacher who looks most impressive on paper, so like a department chair or something along those lines. So this is one of the most common mistakes we see. Students think they need the teacher from the most advanced class, the subject closest to their intended major, or simply the class where they earned the highest grade.
Those things, right? They do matter, but maybe on a smaller scale. Especially they matter if the college or program asks for a particular subject. But if they do not ask for that or an absence of a specific requirement, the relationship actually matters more than what the teacher is teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Because a teacher who watched a student struggle, a student who is asking for help, a student who improved over time and who developed real confidence and who now has much more to say, that letter's valuable.
Right. And so a student who earned that B, but kept showing up and asking questions and taking feedback and growing may get a much stronger letter than that student who quietly sailed through the class and got an A. Because the grade is not what makes the recommendation letter a good one. The relationship does. And an A is not the qualification. Being known is the qualification.
Yes. And when a college accepts 2 teacher recommendations, choose people who can reveal different sides of you. 2 letters that both say excellent student, works hard, participates in class, they're not giving the admissions readers much more than 1 letter would. So what's the value of having both of them?
And then 1 letter that shows intellectual curiosity and another one that reveals collaboration, creativity, resilience, that can build a much fuller picture. Like we mentioned earlier in the episode, check the actual requirements. Some programs ask for a teacher in the specific academic area. Like, we just cannot say that enough.
Yeah, exactly, Lisa. So like STEM programs, for example, they may prefer or require a math or a science teacher. Don't assume, always check.
There it is again, Josh. Look at every school individually. I actually love this episode because I really feel like it's one giant it depends with examples, and you know how much I love it depends.
Yes, I know how much you love. Well, maybe we have some kind of co-branding deal with them. So we'll talk about that off camera.
Sure.
Colleges also frequently prefer teachers who taught the student in a core academic subject during junior year. So junior year teachers have usually worked with the student most recently in more advanced coursework and at a point where the student's becoming a more mature learner. So this makes junior year a little bit of a sweet spot.
So during junior year, y'all, pay attention to which teacher actually sees you clearly. So think about it. Which teacher actually sees you clearly? Who understands how you think? Who has watched you respond to a challenge? Who has seen you contribute something beyond just a good grade?
Being present enough that the people teaching you have something real to remember about you.
Okay, so now let's talk about letter timing. So when should a student ask a teacher?
Yeah, so we recommend spring of the junior year. Don't wait until the fall of the senior year when every other student suddenly remembers recommendation letters exist.
Right, so popular teachers, they receive a lot of requests. And some cap the numbers of the letters that they're willing to write. So if you ask in the spring, that gives a teacher more time and it may help the student secure a spot before that teacher's list fills up.
And the student should make the request directly, in person when possible, not an email from a parent. Parents, much love, but I'm going to ask you to step away from the keyboard. One of my favorite sports broadcasters, a former coach named Herman Edwards, who would always have this advice for athletes when they were posting stuff they shouldn't on social media. He'd always say, don't hit send. The student should ask. And when they're doing the asking, there's one specific word that matters.
Yes, there is, Josh. It is strong. So would a teacher feel comfortable writing you a strong college recommendation letter?
Right. And that one word strong is doing a lot of work behind the scenes. So it gives the teacher room to be honest if they do not know the student well enough or don't believe they can write a genuinely supportive letter.
And if that teacher hesitates or says, I may not be the best person, kiddo, do not take it personally. Don't look at it like a rejection. I know that is easier said than done, but that teacher just did you a favor. Because listen, if there are teachers listening to this podcast, I need y'all to hear this too. If you cannot write a letter longer than what could fit on a Post-it note, or you feel you are not going to say anything that could potentially help a kid, then just tell them no. Or tell them, I don't know, that you don't have time or that you already have too many students that you're writing for. I wish colleges didn't ask for letters of recommendation because I actually don't think it's equitable, but that is a whole nother podcast that we can talk about.
Is that your hot take for, are you preemptively doing a hot take?
It should be my hot take. But no, it's true. Like, they're not equitable, but there are still a lot of schools out there that ask for them. So if they are, teachers do a good job. So kiddos, if that teacher tells you they can't do it or they hesitate, think of it as they are doing you a favor.
Right. And students, remember, and we sort of touched on this a few minutes ago, getting a lukewarm letter from an impressive teacher is much worse than getting an enthusiastic letter from the right teacher.
Every time.
And Once the teacher says yes, so assuming everything goes right with the world, you do everything right, you ask in the spring of the junior year, you ask for that strong recommendation letter and the teacher agrees. So once they do say yes, you as a student, you need to provide them with some context.
1000%. And sometimes your school will give you the context that you need to provide. So some teachers will already have a document that you need to fill out, or some college counseling offices will have a document. Josh and I actually have a document that we have our students fill out that are working with us that we then send back to them and help them write an email to their teachers to always help the teachers be proactive. But context does not mean you are going to write the letter for them, okay? It definitely does not mean handing over a list that says, please make sure that you mention I'm brilliant and I'm compassionate, I'm innovative, courageous, humble, and while you're here, an absolute joy in the classroom, right? Because we've all read those. That is not context, kiddo. That is a press release, y'all.
Yeah, maybe the kids has their own marketing firm or something like that. So what we mean by context, it means helping the teacher remember meaningful moments from their class. So it could be a project, paper, discussion, an academic challenge, or a piece of feedback that stayed with the student.
Or can they also share what they learned about themselves or their academic interests? That's a good one. Or what they hope to pursue in college. And then also probably give them a college deadline. So for students in the South, we've seen admissions applications being due a lot earlier. So if you're here in the South and you're applying to schools in the South and they're asking for a letter of recommendation, maybe right when school starts, check back in if you've already asked a teacher or if you're asking them for the first time. Maybe give them that deadline of September 15th, which I know seems early. If it's not a school in the South that has a later deadline, probably give them till October 15th. So it gives them a few months, especially if you're a senior and they've never taught you before. It gives them a few months to learn about you, but also be upfront about the deadline. Do not wait till last minute. This is not a good look for you, and it does not help your recommender at all. Again, if I could say, man, this also should be my hot take, but it's not. It's not. Or my mic drop, and it's not. But do not give them a resume, even if they ask for one, unless they are a club sponsor or they are your coach. Then you know what? They should know about you and something that they've led you in. If they have not, they do not need to regurgitate your resume. Colleges want to see how they personally know you and how you do in the classroom, not that you were president of the student body or that you did this amazing community service project. Colleges will see that on your resume.
Exactly. And this context, students that you're providing the teachers, please keep it useful and most importantly, organized. So a teacher should not have to dig through a 27-page brag sheet to uncover that one meaningful story that they're going to use in their letter.
Yes, you are jogging their memory, not assigning homework about you. So keep that in mind.
Exactly. And the other thing to keep in mind is once you've done all these things, please make sure that you're following your school's process. So that means complete any questionnaires on time, add the recommender correctly to the application platform, communicate deadlines clearly, especially if you have one, as Lisa mentioned, you're applying to a school that has an unusually early deadline.
And once the teacher says yes, please give them room to actually write your letter. Unless the deadline is getting close and the application still shows that it is missing, do not check every 3 days asking for an update. You gave them the deadline. They know it exists. Take a breath, trust the process, and let them work.
And finally, and probably most importantly, remember to say thank you.
Remember to say thank you. Because think about this, y'all. The teachers, they don't have to write the letter. So a handwritten note is lovely, but a sincere email or an in-person thank you, those also matter. Teachers usually write these letters outside of their regular teaching responsibilities. So after school, on weekends, sometimes they've written them in the summer if you've asked them at the end of your junior year. They are giving you their time and their memory and their advocacy of you. So acknowledge that.
Yeah, exactly. They're investing in your story and they want to know how the next chapter of your story unfolds.
1000%. Okay, so I know I've kind of given some mic drops or some hard truths, but now this is part of our podcast that it's truly the time for a hot take or hard truth. All right, so Josh, you're up.
So my hot take, you can't fake a recommendation letter into existence during senior year. So this is the one part of the application, students, you literally can't cram for. It's not like studying. So there's no October strategy, no clever move, no packet you can hand the teacher that manufactures a relationship that didn't exist. So the letter is the receipt for how you showed up over 2 or 3 years. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore listening to this is your reminder that the work you're doing right now, being present and curious in class, is already building your recommendation letters, whether you know it or not.
Josh, that was a good one. Actually, it was really beautiful. Okay, so the best way to get that letter is just to be genuine. Like, be the kind of student a teacher would love to write about. Good job, Josh. Okay, let me think. Okay, this is my real one. The teacher who gave you a B might write you a better letter than the teacher that gave you an A. I mean that. So being known beats being graded well every single time. The teacher who watched you fight through something really hard has a real story to tell. The teachers whose class you just breezed through and they have nothing to say beyond they're a good student and they got an A, it's going to beat them. So do not choose your recommender based on your grade. Choose based on who actually saw you.
Exactly, students. No shortcuts. It's all about being real over time.
Right.
All righty, Lisa. So it's drop the mic. So you've already dropped it a couple times. So this is actually for real now. So take us home.
So for real, this is the real mic drop. Okay. All right. So here is what I want every family to carry out of this episode. Great recommendation letters are not engineered. They're earned. They grow out of a genuine curiosity and actually being present in the classroom. The goal was never to impress every teacher or turn every class discussion, every office hour visit, and every homework question into some giant admission strategy. That sounds exhausting, y'all. And honestly, teachers would see right through it. The goal is actually much simpler and much better. Become the kind of student the teacher genuinely knows and has real stories to tell about, that they have a real connection. Show up, ask questions, take feedback seriously, and let your teachers see how you think and how you grow and how you treat people around you and what you do when the work gets hard. Do that. And when the time comes, you will not be scrambling to find someone to vouch for you. You will simply be deciding which of the people who truly know you can tell the best story about you.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Okay, so my final thought for students for this week, and especially younger students, we've touched on this before, the recommendation letter you may need 2 years from now is already being written. So it's not on paper yet. It's not in a document your teacher has started saving somewhere, although depending on the teacher, it might be, but in the memory of every teacher who is watching how you learn right now. So those teachers are noticing whether you stay engaged when the material gets difficult, whether you ask thoughtful questions, whether you respond to feedback, whether you help the people around you, whether you keep trying when the first approach does not work. And none of that means you need to perform for your teachers or turn every class into a 2-year campaign for a recommendation letter. It simply means that how you show up matters. I think we said that before. The strongest letters come from a collection of small, honest moments repeated over time. So students, be curious, be present, let your teachers see the real process of how you think, grow, struggle, and improve. Because when the time comes for someone to tell your story, you want them to have a story worth telling.
Right. So start now. Be present now. And the letters, they're going to take care of themselves.
Bingo.
Sorry, I just felt like that was I needed to
It was. Again, are you saying that we need sound effects?
I'm not saying that, Joshua.
Well, I think you are saying that. You said it without saying it. Anyway, I'm going to take it as a win, and we need to invest in some sound effects. Would have been really helpful here. All right. So, Lisa, next week, provided again, we still get the keys to this place, we're tackling the thing that quietly derails more strong applications than almost anything. Deadlines, organization, and the application timeline.
Oh my gosh, I just even had to take a big breath before you even said the word deadlines because it's giving me heart palpitations. So deadlines. So we have early decision, early action, restrictive early action, regular decision, and how you build a system so nothing slips through the cracks when you're juggling 10 applications at once.
Yeah, because one of the most heartbreaking things in this whole process is a great student who missed a deadline, and especially when it's completely preventable.
So no missed deadlines, no last minute panic. We're going to show you how. So bring your calendar, maybe a snack. We're getting organized, y'all, which my color-coded brain loves.
Okay, so same time and same place next week.
We are Decision Drop, making your college journey collaborative, simple, and most importantly, yours. The best letters come from being genuinely known, and so does the best guidance. So if you would like us to help your kiddo build the kind of relationships that lead to powerful recommendation letters, choose the right recommenders, and make sure every part of the application tells one authentic story, head to decisiondrop.com and check us out.
Thanks for dropping in, and remember, like and subscribe. See y'all next week.
Bye.